Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Chloe Daniels, the head of the training department, has asked me to put together this video today, this presentation on international business etiquette, as we will be expanding our business operations into India. I think it's a good place to start learning about the cultures and the etiquette and the customs of India, where we can successfully conduct business there. I'd like to start with a quote today that I found regarding non-Indians working in India and some of the challenges that you might face. India is simply a minefield of relentless mental, emotional, and practical daily challenges for most non-Indians. A riddling obstacle course which can only be navigated with a healthy dose of humor, expansive capacity for patience, and tolerance for the illogical. That does sound a little bit daunting, and that is the purpose of our presentation today, so that we don't move into these business proceedings with discomfort or fear, but we can combat those nerves by learning about India. I can start by learning just some basic facts about India. I'll start by saying the English language is very commonly spoken in India, and it is the preferred language of business proceedings, so travelers can expect to encounter English-speaking residents there in India. It's important to know that 80% of India's population practices Hindu. This is important because the Hindu religion, does impact a lot of aspects of the culture there in India. For example, if you're giving a gift in India, the Hindu faith does discourage eating meat. So, for example, you wouldn't want to give a leather product. The Hindu faith discourages the consumption of alcohol, so you wouldn't want to give alcohol as a business gift. It's nice to know that India is comprised of many different races, tribes, and religion. It is a very, very diverse culture. You've heard America referred to as the melting pot of different types of people. India is very, very diverse also. And I found it personally interesting that Indians in general strive for peace and harmony. They do try to be a very peaceable nation. They are not known for invading other countries or for war acts. Just a very harmonious place, and you can see that within their culture in the way that they treat one another. We'll talk about some of India's dimensions of culture. Some of their components of culture will help you understand those from India. For starters, they are a high power distance culture. What this means is that they are very accepting of power and authority, and that they have very distinct social classes there within society. Still in place is the caste system, where you would have very distinct different levels of society, and from the bottom rung of the social ladder you would find your peasants and farmers up to the priests at the top rung. They're a very high context culture, which means they really don't come out and directly say what they mean. They leave a lot unsaid. There's a lot implied. They expect listeners to pick up on their unspoken cues. They may be very vague or ambiguous, instead of just coming out and saying directly what they mean, like we are encouraged to here in the United States. India is a very collectivistic culture. And what this means is that they generally act in ways that are in the best interest of a group as a whole instead of individually. They are constantly considering the needs of one another. They are a very highly democratic nation. They are actually considered to be the world's largest democracy. Also important about India, they have a polychronic time orientation. What this means is Americans, we have very strict standards of time. We allow our days to be dictated by the clock. Indians are a little different. They are flexible and relaxed with their time standards. Their days are driven more by people, so they tend to be more flexible. You could expect that business meetings might not run on time because it's okay in that culture to run late. Some other cultural aspects that are important to know. We'll start with gestures. A couple of things that could be confusing in India. For example, in India, they do not point at things using one finger. They consider that very rude. They would prefer instead to point with their whole hand or to gesture with their chin to point at something. In India, a side-to-side wobble of the head means yes. In America, that means maybe, so that could also cause confusion. The Western goodbye wave, the side-to-side hand wave, in India means no or go away, and it has negative connotations, and it's something that you would want to avoid. A couple of things that you might hear in India, a very common greeting in India is namaste. And you would place your hands together and bow very slightly, and that's a common greeting there in India. They may also add Jai to the ends of individuals' names as a sign of friendship, so they may call me Kelly Jai. In India, your dress should be conservative. Neutral colors are preferred. For gentlemen, suits and ties are preferred for business meetings, and for ladies, we should be sure to cover up our arms and legs. If you are invited to a home or a place of worship, please be sure to remove your shoes before going inside. Next, I have a couple of do's and don'ts for business meetings, just some etiquette tips. For example, in a business meeting, do use professional titles. If you're speaking with a doctor, address him or her in that way, or you can use courtesy titles such as sir or ma'am. They do prefer that thanks to their high power distance culture. Indians like to conduct business meetings over meals as opposed to in a conference room. They feel that that's more personable. If you are offered a beverage or a refreshment, graciously accept, as refusing hospitality in India is considered rude. And if you're going into a business meeting, be sure to start with small talk, maybe some chit-chat about family or your travels. Delving directly into business is considered rude, and they like to get to know you first and build a relationship. All right. You would not want to point your feet directly at someone. You would not want to stand with your feet pointing at someone in India, as feet are considered unclean. You would not want to touch food, merchandise, or people with your left hand, as the left hand is used during the bathroom routine and is considered very unclean. A couple of notes on body language: crossing your arms, placing your hands on your hips. Those are aggressive body language, and you also wouldn't want to have your hands behind your back because that's considered dishonest in India. Be sure not to engage in physical contact with members of the opposite sex. In closing, I would just like to read to you this short Gandhi quote. Gandhi said that you cannot shake hands with a clenched fist. And I could probably add to that, or a closed mind. If you're going to be visiting India, you need to have a very open mind and understand that there are vast cultural differences, and approach that with patience and understanding. Thank you.